everyone, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Quynh, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. So today, I thought I would share a recipe instead of trying a new recipe I haven't tried before, and it's kind of like my take on a beloved Vietnamese classic dish called Banh Xeo, which is pretty much a crispy Vietnamese crepe. So bun in Vietnamese translates to anything made out of flour. So we're talking about like bread, pastries, or it could even be stuff made out of rice flour or tapioca flour. So that's the word that we use to describe those type of dishes. And then xeo is pretty much the word for sizzling, because when you pour the batter into the pan, it makes a xeo sound. And so that's kind of how the name came about. Growing up, my mom used to make this like every once in a while. It was like a special treat for us because it was labor intensive, and it would smoke up the entire house and just make it smell like food for like at least 2 days. And so she didn't really like to make it too often because she didn't like the smell. So now that I am in Texas and my mom is still in Kansas, I don't really get my mom's banh xeo very often. So I've kind of resorted to making it myself. And along the way, I've kind of learned a few tricks to make this a little bit easier, take a little bit of the smokiness out of the traditional Vietnamese banh xeo recipe, and then also just, I don't know, just make it easier for me, but have it still taste delicious and like remind me of my childhood. So that's the recipe I'm gonna share with you guys today. So I just wanna make clear that this is not authentic. There are some like shortcuts along the way, but in my opinion, I think it's a good place to start, especially if you've never made banh xeo before. And it's still delicious and still has a lot of the authentic Vietnamese feel to it. Anyways, if you guys are interested in how I make this, just keep on watching.
To make this recipe, you want to start by making the batter, which you can pick up at most Asian markets. Now, the way that my mom tells me to make this batter is a bit complicated, so you really can just follow the directions on the packaging. However, if you like unnecessary complicated steps like I do, then feel free to follow along. So before mixing the banh xeo, I always check the directions because each brand is going to call for different ingredients and measurements. For this particular brand, they want you to mix the contents of this bag with 3 cups of warm water and 1 14-ounce can of coconut milk. To start, I'm actually only going to be mixing the flour with 2 cups of warm water and let it sit on the counter while I prepare the rest of the ingredients. This is going to allow the flour to bloom. I'm not adding the coconut milk at this time because my mom tells me it shouldn't sit out for a long time, so we're going to save that for later. Additionally, I like to add a cup of either sparkling water or beer right before cooking, as it's believed it makes the batter more airy and crispy, so that's why I'm only adding 2 cups of water right now. The next thing I do is prepare the fish sauce for dipping so that it's ready to go when I'm done cooking. In a mortar and pestle, I add 2 to 3 sliced Thai chilies and about 3 cloves of garlic and pound them together until they become almost a paste. Then I like to add in a half cup of sugar and grind to combine with my chili garlic paste, followed by a half cup of boiling hot water and mix to dissolve the sugar into the hot water. At this point, I transfer the mixture into a serving bowl and add in a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, the juice of 1 lime, and a 1/4 to a half cup more of hot water depending on your taste. The sauce should be sweet and tangy from the lime and balance out with the saltiness from the fish sauce with a little bit of a kick from the chilies and garlic. Now that the fish sauce is done, this is when I like to wash and drain all of my greens, place them in a serving dish, cover with some plastic wrap, and put them in the fridge until they're ready to be served. Next, I season a pound of ground pork with about a teaspoon of garlic powder and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and mix it all together. Then I heat up about a tablespoon of oil in a pan on medium-high heat before adding and cooking the pork mixture until brown. Once brown, I pour the cooked pork into a bowl and set it aside for later. Then I clean the pan, added in about 1 inch of water, threw in a couple teaspoons of salt, bring that to a boil, then added in my cleaned raw shrimp. The shrimp only need to cook for a couple minutes or just until it turns white, then remove them from the heat, then pour them in a colander to drain the water. While at the sink, I fill the pan back up with water, add in another teaspoon of salt, and bring that back up to a boil before adding in a package of bean sprouts. Cover and let steam for a couple minutes. These don't need to cook for long either. Once cooked, I also pour them through a sieve or colander in the sink and let them sit to drain all the water. Now that all the filling is cooked, I can finally finish mixing my banh xeo batter. I poured in the 14-ounce can of coconut milk, added half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder. The batter will either have turmeric already in it or comes with turmeric you can add in. I added whatever comes with it and then added a little bit more to achieve a brighter yellow color. But be careful not to add too much though, or the batter will become bitter. I also like to add in thinly sliced green onions, and finally a cup of sparkling water or beer to finish off the batter. By now, the boiled shrimp should have cooled down enough to handle, so I peel the shells off of them and then cut them in half lengthwise so that you end up with 2 symmetrical sides. Alright, now that everything has been prepared, we can start cooking the Banh Xeo. Banh Xeo is best made in small non-stick pans. So you want to start by getting your pan nice and hot. I have my heat on medium to medium high, then I oil the pan with this contraption I made with a piece of paper towel, a pair of chopsticks, and a rubber band, but you can also just use a basting brush. Then I add in some sliced onions, a few pieces of shrimp, and a spoonful of pork, and saute everything for about 30 seconds just so the onions sweat a bit. Then you can go ahead and ladle in the Banh Xeo batter. It should sound like this. If you don't hear a sizzle, your pan isn't hot enough. As soon as the batter hits the pan, swirl it around so that it evenly coats the pan, then take a lid, cover the pan, and lower the heat to medium. This is going to allow the Banh Xeo to steam and crisp up on the bottom at the same time. After a few minutes, remove the lid and pour oil around the sides of the pan so that it slides down underneath the Banh Xeo, then cover for a couple more minutes. Then you're going to remove the lid, add in the cooked bean sprouts, and fold the Banh Xeo over so that it kind of looks like a taco. If the bean sprouts are cold or you're using raw bean sprouts instead, then you'll want to cover with the lid for a couple of minutes to steam before folding the Banh Xeo over. So that's pretty much how I make my Banh Xeos. Of course, you'll want to make as many as you think will serve you and your guests, but between my husband and I, 3 to 4 of these are perfect. I stack these on a serving plate and put them out on the table with a plate of mixed greens, the fish sauce we made earlier, accompanied by small bowls and a large plate for each person, some spring roll wrappers, and a bowl of hot water, then call everyone to the table to eat.
Alright, so I have my Banh Xeo here. It is looking so good. I just have one in front of me right now just to show you guys. And then I also have this beautiful platter of just fresh leafy greens and herbs. So I have some lettuce in here, mint, basil, perilla, cilantro, pretty much any herbs at the Asian market that sounds good to you. It's phenomenal in this because I think every single herb adds such like a nice green flavor to it. And the aroma just adds to it, in my opinion. I love just like adding a ton of herbs onto my wrap. So depending on which area in Vietnam you're from, Banh Xeo is eaten differently. So in some regions, they'll just eat it like a lettuce wrap. So you take like big pieces of lettuce and then just wrap the Banh Xeo in it with like the herbs and then dip it in fish sauce. Where my family are from, we actually like to eat it with rice paper. We just like it better that way because it's a little bit easier to eat and it's a little bit less messy. So I have some rice paper right here, a bowl of hot water, and then I also made a Vietnamese fish sauce to go with this. One thing that I really like with my Banh Xeo that is not authentic or traditional is Doritos, especially the Cool Ranch Doritos. Now, when my mom made this growing up, my grandma would pull out the bag of Doritos and then she would add the Doritos to her spring roll wrap and then roll it up that way. And so it just has kind of stuck with me ever since. So whenever I make spring rolls, I always am sure to get a bag of Doritos. And normally I don't ever eat Doritos, but when I have spring rolls, this is a must. And Jordan's hooked on it also now, so it's kind of just our staple. It's kind of silly, but I can imagine having spring rolls without Doritos now. So up to you if you guys want to try it or not, but definitely not needed. All right, so to eat this is actually very, very simple. I have like a little ramekin or bowl right here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of the fish sauce to it so I can dip it in there. And I love this fish sauce because it's so bright, you know, it's sweet, salty, and limey at the same time, and it's just so wonderful. And I'm gonna start by taking the rice paper, dipping it in my bowl of hot water, and you just need to go around once just to get it all wet. It doesn't have to sit in there for a very long time. And then you put it on your plate. And then you just wait like a minute and then it'll just automatically get soft. While that gets soft though, I can start loading it up. So I'm gonna grab some lettuce, and I like to start with lettuce because that kind of creates like a barrier, especially when I add Doritos because it's kind of sharp. Then I'm just gonna add like as much herbs as I want, which is a lot. My spring rolls are very herby, if you guys can't tell. I think those are all the herbs I have. Okay, so now there's just a massive pile of greens in front of me. Now I can add the Banh Xeo, the crepe. So I like to add half. So I just kind of do it right down the middle. And then lastly for me, I'm gonna top it off with some of these Doritos. Just add enough to kind of cover, like make a layer, you know, like one row. And then you're gonna kind of squish it down a little bit. And then you start rolling. And my trick is to construct everything on one end of it. And so when you roll, you have room to roll. Because if you start in the middle, then you're not gonna have as much room to roll. But if you start on one end, then you can like roll it up. But there you go. It looks like that. And then to eat it, you just dip it into the fish sauce. Make sure you get a good amount in there. And then here we go. Cheers. That is like my childhood in like a bite. It's like a really crispy, refreshing salad that just has like a ton of flavor in it. It's like an explosion of flavor in your mouth when you eat this, and it's so phenomenal. I just love the crispiness of the vegetables, the crunch of the Doritos, and then like there's a crispiness from the Banh Xeo as well because it's like fried, and so it's like really crispy. And then when you eat it with the fish sauce, it is so bright. It has like a really nice kick of lime to it, but it's toned down by the sweetness and then the saltiness of the fish sauce. So it's a really nice balance, and it's so, I don't know, I guess the word I can think of is just like refreshing, and I absolutely love it. I think that it is such a fun meal. Plus, when you have this, you pretty much have a plate of the Banh Xeo in front of you, and everyone just rolls their own rolls, so you can add whatever you want to it. At the end of the day, it's a really nice meal because, you know, everyone's sitting at the table, everyone's enjoying it. So what I also like to do is I will just make all of these at once, use up all of the batter, and then it'll go on a plate, and if needed, then we'll stick it into the air fryer and fry up like a couple, and that way, you know, it will crisp back up. And the air fryer actually does a really good job crisping this back up. You can also use the oven if you have a convection oven. We don't, so we have this little air fryer that works great. So that's another thing that you can do also. So you're not super stressed trying to make this like fresh for everyone. Like I said, it's not 100% authentic because I use ground pork. Traditionally, raw pork belly is used and raw shrimp, and that is what makes it so smoky because the fat comes out and it just like smokes up the entire house. So by cooking the pork and the shrimp prior to making this, it saves a lot of smoke, and so your whole house doesn't smell as bad if you do it this way. But anyways, I hope you guys do try this. It's a lot easier in my opinion than the traditional method, and it's a lot less chaotic. If you do try it, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and if you haven't done so already, be sure to click on that subscribe button right there and hit that bell notification so you can see more videos like this. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!